and welcome to the Friday video session. Hopefully by now you're getting used to my face and the apartment behind me. Just quickly, I thought I'd close out the week by just going over a few things, one of which is to let you know that we've been successful in bringing on all of the medical services operations team now, including the IHMS operations. We've also just registered the IT team on the system, so we're now starting to get some volume in. That's been a bit of effort from all of us this week to make that happen, so I do appreciate we've got a few new people we're talking to this week. I just thought I'd quickly go over to the medical services team, the newcomers that we've brought on in the last 2 weeks. As you can see there, we've got a few photos up, which is fantastic. We've got people completing surveys. The survey results are excellent, actually. And hopefully by now we've had a few people, actually all of you by now, had the task of completing the first 5 training sessions or first 5 video sessions that we have on the Academy platform. So hopefully that's also something that's flowed through this week. What I did want to remind you about is the need to do the reflection survey on a Monday morning. I think at this stage, late in the week, we've still got 2 outstanding, one from Sally, who I think might be on leave. So obviously that's reasonable enough. And Helen, I think we're still waiting on yours as well. It's important that we do this just so I get a live snapshot about, I guess, where we're heading and how we need to respond to the team in any given week. One thing that I did glean from the survey results this week is, I guess, people's understanding of what our regional goals were and how those goals related to them as individuals, but also how they aligned with the goals that I hold myself and I guess onwards to Adrian as well. So what I thought I'd do just in the short time this afternoon is just to run through a bit of an overview of the regional goals and how they look and what they mean. And that might give you a bit more of an understanding about where we sit. For those of you who are on SuccessFactors, you've probably seen a little bit of this before, but it's a good reminder. And for those who are not, it's a bit of insight into how we actually formulate and collate our goals. What I will ask is that you use these concepts to actually start forming your own goals on the platform, and we'll talk a bit more directly to you about that next week. Excuse me. But just generally, I'll flip over to the PowerPoint now. So we have 4 major goals, and Adrian has talked to these previously in town halls, but I'll just quickly go over them again. The first one is growth. So we are currently, in terms of revenue size, we're $160 million US. In terms of top line revenue. What we're hoping to get to in the very near future is to a revenue size of $200 million. And that's across our PNG, Australian and New Zealand businesses and the outlying territories. We do believe that's a reasonable target. Now you might recall, I think even 3, 4, 5 years ago, we were up around $300 and $350 million. Very different circumstances with the construction efforts in PNG and the IHMS contract running at record levels. So we do think a reasonable organic growth figure of around $200 million revenue is something that we can reasonably target. Related to that is our profitability. Our profitability is really the return to our shareholders, and being a privately held company, as we still are, those shareholders are very much individuals that we all know and love. At the moment, we're tracking at about 6 to 7% return on our revenue. What we'd like to do ideally, and we think this is reasonable, is to get to a figure of 10%. So if we are hitting a revenue top line figure of $200 million, we would return $20 million to the shareholders. The third target that we look to is what we call operational excellence. And really what we're trying to do here is be best in class. So we know our medicine is fantastic. We know our security professionals are awesome. Where we do struggle every now and then is the back office administration, the processes that we use, the mechanics, the day-to-day mechanics that are required to deliver on our services to our customers' contracts and expectations. And this is where, from an operational perspective, I think we've got the most value to add. So when we're looking at creating projects and project themes, I'd really ask you to look into this space as the primary area. And finally, we are also looking at a major area as being employee engagement and motivation. So this is the main reason why we're running this program, to be perfectly honest, is to try and build that alignment between, I guess, high-level objectives at a group level and flow that down to the employee level. So here, a good example of what we've managed to achieve in the last couple of months is some work done by Peter Furstein with support of the team over in WA, is that we've run some employee engagement surveys for the folk working in the offshore maritime arena, and they've given us some very clear feedback as part of those surveys, and we've promoted, I guess, a few initiatives in response to that, and using those or that feedback as a means to engage productively and meaningfully with those staff. So there's just a few areas that we are focusing on, and they're basically the four main buckets that we will ask that you build your goal structure around. So really enough from me for the moment, and just a quick thanks again for everyone's contribution. I know there's a lot going on all at once, but our efforts in this space are really starting to give us some traction in areas I didn't really think that we would. So we're doing really well, and thanks again, and I'll speak to you again on Monday. Cheers, guys.